Plato said that when you go to chemist school, you become more alert. You may wake up, your spirit wake up. And you become a more human being. That's your character is built in a school. We must know Netcher. You see, maybe in the future we need to know some heretic too. We need to know Netcher.
All right. ETM Hotep. Peace. Welcome in peace. So, this is going to be a quick one. I appreciate anybody who's tuned in. This is definitely a out of the clear blue sky and out of the deep ocean abyss of noon coming live tonight. So this is going to be a brief one. The title of this live stream is a brief commentary on the tomb of Rekhmira. And it's not the whole tomb, of course. It's just one particular picture. I was asked earlier to give my thoughts on this particular picture about a brother, Bobby West, a.k.a. or F.K.A., formerly known as Uncle Kek. He said that he doesn't go by that name, or stop using that name, or what have you. So everybody's been calling him Bobby West. So I got to get used to it, Mr. Bobby West, Bobby Baltimore. Okay, so there was a conversation earlier on the Pseudo Killer's channel. And the conversation, actually, there's a couple of things that was talked about, but the gist of it, if I had to summarize the conversation, at least all that I heard, because I witnessed the conversation in pieces while I was out and about, and from what I get from the entire conversation, it's the same conversation that a lot of people tend to have, and it all falls in the category of identity. And in this particular case, the identity of the ancient Egyptians. That's the sum of it. Period. It's the identity. And so under that big umbrella of identity, obviously, whether they're black or white or not black or white, it's going to come up. Genetic conversations are going to come up. Whether they are sub-Saharan, super Saharan, And all of that is going to come up in that conversation. I'm telling you, you could bet your estate on that fact that anytime the identity of the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, is being discussed, those things are going to come up, and some other things, you know. And unfortunately, those conversations don't go anywhere. And the solution to those conversations, to make them go somewhere and for people to actually learn and expand the body of knowledge, is to properly structure the conversation and use the right tools for the right questions. You can't talk about genetics when you're talking about a culture, a population that's defined by culture. So let me just explain. When geneticists and biologists and everything, evolutionists and things, when they talk about a population in biology, they're talking about, or genetics, they're talking about a genetic population. And a genetic population does not equate to a culture, a population of people practicing a particular culture. Genetics cannot tell you what culture a person practiced. Genetics cannot tell you what language a person spoke. It just cannot do that. But the study of genetics, the study of linguistics, language, the study of culture, culture anthropology, and all of its subsidiaries and things, all of those are very, very important and valuable tools. But just like any toolkit, tool chest, you have to know what tool to use to apply to what task at hand. So you're not going to use a hammer when you need a screw gun. You know, you're not going to use a pair of pliers or channel locks when you need wire cutters, or sheetrock cutters and sanders and things like that. You're just not going to do that. But all of those tools are important and helpful. So what I suggest, and what I always suggest, I've been very consistent at it, is that people got to slow the conversation down and grab the right tool for the right question. Sort out the questions first, and then grab the right tool to solve the issue. You know, putting a bike together, you look at the directions, it tells you what comes in the box to put the bike together, all the screws and components, so you make sure you're not missing anything. And then it tells you what tools you need. Say a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, and a wrench or pliers. That's it. That's all you need. And then you use it for when you need it. So that's what has to happen. But anyway, for tonight's brief commentary, the tomb of Rekhmira came up, and a particular picture was shown, and I guess they were talking about it on the panel on the channel. And so Unc sent me the picture to ask me who the people were in this picture. And so that's what I'm just going to talk about briefly. So, but before I dive in, let me just give a shout out to everybody who's watching. And again, I appreciate anybody who's tuned in. Like I said, we constantly do these drive-bys. We could pop up on you any day, any time. So subscribe. If you have time, come hang out with us. Ask questions, join the panel. You know, we want participation. We are growing in this knowledge together, so we want participation. You know, we're not doing the quarreling, fussing, the drama, all that stuff. We don't do that here. And eventually I'm gonna stop saying that's what we don't do, because people already know that we don't get down like that. But we want participation. We want people to participate, and we can have fun doing it. All right. As long as we take the information serious, we can have fun. So let me dive in. But before I dive in, I do have some people that popped on the panel already. So maybe you all want to introduce yourself, and if you have anything introductory wise, by all means, the floor is open.
Hotep Hotep Hu Abed E Ren E Imiket, and yes, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I had no idea what's going on, but I'm actually surprised that the experts sent you something to look at and giving back the expertise opinion, because when you be doing that, they're like, you're not an expert. So, but nah, I'm not, we're not going to do that. But yeah, no, that's interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what we're going to what we're going to find out with, with what we have. So that's very interesting.
I see we also have Dr. Duara or Duarte Odara, excuse me, and Brother Chris. Any words before we jump in?
Hotep, everybody.
All right, I see you got your
Well,
audio working. I see you got your
yeah,
audio
yeah.
working. That's good.
Today I'm better. Today I'm better. I'm getting in from my computer, so it's less problem like this.
All
So
right.
thank you for inviting me. Thank you for congratulations for the good work you've been doing. It's more than necessary that we have people trying to build platforms like that with real knowledge, with a patient patience necessary to construct this kind of material, to construct this kind of data. So I'm also looking forward to what you bring for us today.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Yeah, and always, yeah, you're always invited. Yep. Glad you got your audio set, and now you can participate even more. So it's great. Brother Chris.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I finally got my internet working. I got rid of Netscape 10.0. You know what
Netscape,
I'm
man.
saying?
You took it back, boy. Netscape.
Man, it kept saying my browser it said browser is out of date. I'm like, what did that mean? Browser out of date.
Man,
But yeah,
that's
I'm good
crazy.
now.
All right, all right. So,
Looking forward.
okay.
Good.
Yeah, so all right, so I pinned the link in the chat. So anybody is welcome on the panel. All right, you can hang in the chat or you can come on the panel. I prefer the panel, if you have something to share and say and question and everything. So anyway, like I said, I'm gonna be brief, but everybody knows my brief equals, it's my brief is almost like the biblical one day unto the Lord is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is one day. That's me. I get teased a lot, and I actually have to just go ahead and swallow that. I have to just go ahead and admit that that I am MC Iron Lung, and that I do have long uh, goodbyes and everything. I got to swallow all of that stuff. So, you know, that's cool, and I'll swallow that. But I am going to try to be brief with this, because I don't have much to actually talk about unless you all see. And that's the thing. I actually am brief, to my credit, on what I want to talk about. But then, people may ask questions, and then the conversation go, then hey, it'll go everywhere. But anyway, all right, so I'm going to dive into this. So again, let me just set the context. Again, the Pseudo Killers had a live show, like afternoon show. I was able to, I was listening in because I was out and about making runs and doing the daily business, and I heard the part, pieces of the conversation. And like I said, the conversation can be summed up under one umbrella of identity, and it's the identity of the ancient Egyptians. And whenever that conversation comes up, there's going to be a few things that you can bank your best dollar on. One is going to be some kind of genetics, with some genetic studies, some scant genetic studies that's been done. And then, somebody's going to bring up the article about that. Somebody's going to mention Mediterranean culture. Somebody's going to mention that they're not black, or that they are black, or that they're neither black nor white, or they are both black, white. Somebody's gonna bring up the sub-Sahara versus super Sahara or Northern Africans part of that conversation. All of that is gonna come up. I can guarantee you. You can just bet, go all in with that bet. It's going to happen, and it indeed happened with the conversation. It always does. And from my perspective, because I've been dealing with this for quite some time, it is a very disappointing thing to witness for me, because it's the same stuff that's repeated for the past 10 years that I've witnessed it, and I don't see the growth of it. You know, if we were to grade conversations in terms of age, this conversation would be toddler level. And people may hear that and say, oh, you know, I'm putting it down or whatever. No, it's just the maturation process. It's like maturity. Like a conversation can be started 10 years ago. You would expect 10 years later that conversation would be 10 years old. It would celebrate its 10-year birthday. And so if you had a child that's born 10 years ago and now they have a 10th birthday, you could see the maturity in that child. You could see the child grow physically, hopefully grow mentally and everything like that. So I'm using it as an analogy, as figurative way, that these conversations, they don't go anywhere, you know? So anyway, so I'm not really going to talk about that part of it. I just want to fulfill the discussion about the actual image. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive in. And again, everybody is welcome to come on to the panel. All right. So let me just I'm gonna share the picture, and then we're gonna talk about it. So give me a chance to do that. All right. So let me share my screen here. Okay. So I'm gonna show a few pictures because I have different parts of the picture. So I'm gonna show like the full picture, and it may be small. So I'm gonna try to blow some parts up so that everyone can see it. Okay. So let me get that going here if I can. Let's see. Actually, can I? Nope, that's not it. There we are. Okay, so I think you all be able to see it. Okay, so this is the picture. Now, the picture Unc sent me, actually, I should show that first, the one he actually sent me. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Can I find it? But this is the actual primary, this is the actual image from the tomb itself. What Unc sent me was a facsimile. Somebody had painted it. And so I want to show you all what he sent me. So let me grab that real quick. Real quick. Pardon this delay in me getting it. I should have been already, but I'm not. Yeah, and you're going to see how small this is. I'm going to share this. All right, so give me a second here. Okay, so this is the picture that Uncle sent me. And that's what he sent me, you know. And I had to tell him, I'm saying, I can't read that, because he wanted to know who the people were. And I'm like, you expect me to do lookership on the picture if this is what you sent me? I can't read that. So but even when I blow it up, so on the phone, and plus I was on my phone, so if I blow it up, you can see it better, but it gets blurry, but I can make out enough of it. All right. And so I told him immediately, for the sake of their conversation, that these are three different groups of people. The top register being one group, the the middle one being another one, and then the bottom one being even another one. And so I let him know that who they were. But before I even say it, I want to know from the audience, from the chat. Now we're gonna go row by row, like register by register, top, middle, and then the bottom. Okay. So I want to know who do you all think they are? All right. So and I know there's a delay, but I want to know who you all think it is, and anyone on the panel. If you're already here on the panel, by all means you can unmute yourself. But this included the chat as well. Somebody unmuted.
Oh yeah, this is Neil Sarah. I just unmuted myself. It looks like it's. I mean, if I'm just guessing, it would be some people from like the Sudan area, the darker people, or like further up the Nile, which is like closer to like Uganda, or what they would call like Nubia or whatever, and then. I guess Kemet and just all up the Nile, so you really don't know for real. People were traveling a lot, but like you said, this is just painted, so this is like a depiction for real. So, then the words at the bottom, like you really can't. All you can see is like birds, and then like small things, like you would have to get a magnifying glass or something like that. I can't really tell.
Okay, all right. So I'm looking at the chat. And again, shout out to the chat. Peace to the chat. I would do a roll call, but I want to get through this image first. And so I can't pay too much attention to the chat. So if somebody's trying to get my attention or making comments directed to me, if you could hold up on that. I am looking for the answer. So I see Master Khalik. He said Ta-Nehisi. Let me actually show the. Can I show the? Yeah. Oh. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, so Master Click said Ta-Nehisi and Remich. All right, so he's saying those two. And let's see, anybody else? I think somebody else. Sundiata, Remich, Libyans, and Cushites. Okay, so remember this. There's three registers. So it's kind of keep it there. So he says the Remich, the Libyans, and the Cushites. Okay. Let's see, anybody else? Who okay, Mika says the Egyptians and Nubians. All right. So she typed her second answer. So Egyptians and Nubians. All right. So those are two. Anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody. Then we're gonna jump on it. Anybody else? All right, I guess everybody else is having their own conversation. Okay. All right, so let's get through this learning moment first. Then everybody can conversate all they want to. We can, can have it out. Okay, Donnie Williams. Let's see what Donnie Williams says. Donnie Williams says Nubians folks on the top register, right to left. Okay, right to left. Yep. Donnie's not playing. Donnie's actually reading figures instead of just the glyphs. He's like the figures should be read from right to left. Not even just the glyphs. All right.
Let me say one more thing before you go.
Yeah.
So I mean, my first thought was that, this it just looked like a group of people. Like I wouldn't even try to distinguish based on color for real, because it's just like if we got everybody on the chat, everybody in the panel, and then you look at 1,000, 3,000 years from now, and you're like, okay, what people do you think this is? And then you start using like skin pigment to try to denote ethnicity or race or something like that. And I think that's silly, but maybe they are trying to do it just to distinguish between who's, but just first looking at it, like they're wearing almost the same cloth at the bottom, holding the same thing over their shoulder, had the same baboons. And so this could be a group of people that migrated from different places, and they consider themselves the same. That was my first thought. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that, because like I said in the beginning, the conversation when it comes to identity, the general flat identity conversation is very complex, and people got to respect it as a complex conversation, and they really have to slow the conversation down. But specifically when people want to talk about the identity of the ancient Egyptians, same thing applies. And there are things that come up, and these tools are misused. Like the example I gave, tools are being misused in the conversations.
Okay, so just to add a little bit, I think just if I was just applying leadership at this point, obviously because of how sharp the picture is, I would look at it like how you have those pictures where you have where it tells you like note the different or like spot the difference or something like that. So even if I don't know what's going on, I can see that on the top layer there is two kind of distinct groups of people, but so based on the colors that have been used, but then they could also be the same kind of people depending on the kind of uh, uh you know um what is it called gifts that they have. And then on the second layer, the middle layer, you can see that there's actually another set of people that are actually much differentiated from the top layer of the group of people who actually have the same color of painting that is used, because the hair is kind of different, is coily on that group of people, and obviously the outfits, and then the type of gifts that they carry is also slightly different. And then you have the bottom group of people where you have adds another set of two sets of depending on the color that is used by the painters. And then also the ones that still actually are painted using the reddish brown that we see from the other two on the top layers are actually also very distinct from the other top two, because they have slightly rounded hair, so like afros. And then also, just like from the other two top layers, their gifts are also slightly different as well. So that's that's how I would actually spot the differences, not noting much of it or specifically who they are or whatever it is, but there is a differentiation between all those group of people there.
Okay, all right, so let's get into it. All right, so I'm just gonna tell people who these people are, but take note. If you were to just look at the images and do lookership based on this redrawing, see, this is not the actual tomb itself. This is somebody's repainting and redrawing of this tomb. And so you got to be careful with stuff like that as well, especially if you are a person that depend on lookership and you're not a person who deals with primary sources or read the actual text around these images to know who's who and what's what and what they're doing, why they're doing it, when they're doing it, and things like that. So you notice that whoever painted this used the same paint pigmentation for the skin color of the majority of these figures. And then they used another skin pigment color for another set. So it's just really two different colors in terms of skin pigmentation used to draw these figures in this image. They're darker brown, very, very dark brown, black. And then you have this reddish brown. And that's it. So there's not enough information in the image to do the lookership thing, and so I just try to base who these people are based on looks. And it was never done like that in history or whatever the case is. It's just something that we cling on to today, which really handicaps the conversations. Everybody's worried about looks in these conversations, and that's just unfortunate. So anyway, just to answer what who these people are, the top row are people that are bringing goods from Punt. So these are Punt to you. These are Puntites, as we would say today. These are people from Punt on the top. The people in the middle are what the Egyptians call Kheftiu. And the people in the middle are from Keftiu or Kefet, which is the in the Algean Sea, the islands in the Algean Sea. This is none other than Crete, Crete, Crete. Okay, so you know where the Crete is, then that's where these people are from, in the middle register. So there'll be your Algean groups coming from that area. And then at the bottom, these are your Nehisiu, or what people like to call Nubians. All right. So there you have it. Now, that's not helpful. And the only reason why a person can know that is when you read the actual text that's above them. And then a lot of it is cropped out. This picture, the tomb wall is huge. And I'm going to show you more of it in a second. But there's text to the right of this cropped image, way to the right, where it actually lists all these people, where they're from, and what they're doing. Some of them are paying tribute. Some of them are bringing gifts, and that's a big difference, because some countries were paying tribute under the king, and then some countries were trading. So it's more worded like gifts, because there's an instance of reciprocity there. There's trade. You know, they give, and then Egypt gives. Some countries were just giving, but they term that tribute. Inu, which is to bring goods or to bring tributaries. And then there were people who were captive, and you're going to see that in a few minutes. People who were captive as well. All right, so these are different distinctions that are made, and you pretty much won't pick that up unless you read it, unless you're able to read it. All right, so now in terms of identity, see, this doesn't help that identity conversation. This is why I keep saying, and I keep advocating until the wheels fall off, that people need to give up on that. That conversation needs to be buried 6 feet deep. Give it its flowers, and you know, get a tombstone and grave and everything for that conversation. That conversation is going to lead you nowhere fast, like 90 miles an hour to a red light. It really is. And every time I hear it, that's the outcome. Every single time. All right. So let me just show you all some more pictures. So let me take that off.
So,
And yes. Mm-hmm.
so the Remesh were clearly aware that the people from Punt and from Ta-Nehisi down in that area, all of them were not jet black.
Right. Yep.
Now, I'm saying it because sometimes people talk as though all the so-called Nubians were super chocolate, all of them jet black.
He said super chocolate. Right. But that's a modern focus. Like we are so traumatized about looks. Like a lot of stuff that we do in 2020, you know, in the modern era is based on looks, because we classify our fellow human beings in categories based on looks. We call it race, but it's really a lookership classification system. You know, it's a social construct that we categorize human beings in, and that is so shallow. It's only good for certain things. For these kind of conversations, no, it does nothing at all. Now earlier, someone made a point. I forgot who said this, and maybe they're listening in, but I just said by a couple of people, and I agree with them. So what they said was that a lot of interest in Egypt by African Americans is because they believe the Egyptians are black, and by extension, they believe that they are related to the ancient Egyptians, and I can agree with that. because that is the sentiment of many people, not everybody, but is a sentiment of many people. They say, okay, the Egyptians are black, because you can hear the conversations all throughout social media. People will say, my ancestors, or our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, our ancestors, and stuff like that. And there's a sense of, okay, I'm from them, they're from me, or vice versa, and stuff like, and everything. And so that has to be massaged out too. So I don't want to make this a one-sided thing, but to correct it, it takes someone who knows how to correct the conversation and stuff to be able to do it. And I'm saying that people who step in and have that conversation, they're not correcting anything, because it just makes it worse by just staying on looks. Like I said, whether Egypt was a Mediterranean culture, whether it's sub-Saharan or not, whether they were black or white or not, and all of that goes nowhere. It's really a result of the belief that the Egyptians are black. So I say throw it all in the trash, for this. But anyway, here's the actual tomb and the actual picture. So I'm gonna blow this one up. See if I could make this bigger. Okay. So you all can see it a bit bigger, right? Okay, I might have to just move it around a bit. Okay, so as you can see, there's a little more to the left and right to the one I showed you. But now, let's go to that middle group right here. So, and I can't turn on my arrow that I normally have, but if y'all can see my cursor, these are the Keftiu. These are the people of the Algean area, Crete. Okay, these people. And if you look at it, this is the actual tomb now. This is not a facsimile or anything like that. This is still there, still on the tomb. This is what we have available to us today. And you see, if you're gonna be going by skin color, you can see the pigments that they use to paint these people. All right. And if you didn't know any better, and you didn't examine it closely, people would mistake these as Egyptians, because it's the same kind of manner that they style themselves in terms of color, pigment color, not the details of what they wear. Because you could see their footwear. I don't know what kind of footwear they got. They got some nice Izod and polo socks on, but you could tell that they're not Egyptians in that sense. But color wise, you can't tell. All right, and here go the Nehisiu, and it's the third register. So this is the first register, second, and third. Now, what you didn't see in the other picture that I showed was these lower ones. So the people down here. So to let you know the people, let me ask first. Now I want you to notice that these people, the pigment used to paint them is different than the pigment used for the other three registers. Okay, so the Egyptians are making a distinction with the choice of pigment as well here. So I'm gonna ask the question again. Who do you all think is in this fourth register right here? Who do you think these people are? All right, maybe I'll blow it. Let's see if I can blow it up some more. Can I blow it? Yeah, there you go. Right here. Who are these folks right here?
Well, they have
Anybody?
on garments, right? It look like they have on garments. So is that there's some type of Asiatic?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My bad. You were still going? My bad.
No, go ahead.
Wow. Sheesh. Maybe some Greeks or something, like whatever, I don't know. Yeah, some people from Greece or that area. They had to be the Greeks, because the Greeks often, talk about learning from them, and and they didn't seem to really go to war with them that much at that time when they talked about that. So that's just my calculated guess for real that it's possibly the Greeks, because everybody else, it was like they seem to be going to war with sometimes. So they would like mention them as like foes or adversaries. But the Greeks seemed like they were just like like always paying homage and learning from them. And then later on, when it kind of fell, it seemed like they like just took a lot of their stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, that's just my lookership, calculated lookership guess.
Okay.
Which I,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. I also see some horses over there to the left. So I know horses were mainly in the Levant area. So is that a horse right there? Yeah, that's a horse. Yeah, so maybe some kind of Levantian or some Sumerians or
Okay. See, that's a good eye. That's very good. And so I'm looking at the chat, see if anybody. Somebody said Greeks. 42 tribes said the Crete predates the Greeks. And somebody said Hittites or Berbers. Okay. That was 42 tribes said Hittites or Berbers. So the answer is now, I don't expect like, if somebody get it right, then hey, man, that's great. But there's no way to like bullseye and get it right because you can't, we can't see this text enough above them. And then the text to the far right is not in this picture too well. But these people here that I just asked about, they are what the Egyptians called the retinue or retinue. And does anybody on the panel know who we will call, what's another word for the retinue? Because Keftiu is what the Egyptians call Crete, in the Algean area. But retinue, who do we more, what would be a more familiar term to us today of the retinue? Anybody know?
are those Libyans?
Nope. That's the Chehenu. The Libyans would be the
Chehenu.
Chehenu. Yeah, these are the retinue. Anybody?
The Eamu, the
Nah, that'd be the Amu.
right. Oh, right, that's the
Yeah,
the Eamu,
Amu.
the Rechinu. I heard this name.
Retinue. Okay, Sadiq A says Syrians, and he is correct. All right, so ding, ding, ding. Yep. So the retinue will be the Syrians. All right, so there you have it. Now, the register under them is a combination of the retinue and the Nehisiu. But these registers here, these are and obviously, oh, here we go. You can see more of it. And here's that horse that you were talking about. It's a better picture of it. So that's the retinue, like I said, the Syrians. What's below it are women, and it's dark, but these are women and children and other men from Syria, and then the Nehisiu, but these are captives. So these are people from the vassal states, because remember, this is during the time Rekhmira. First of all, let me kind of back up. Rekhmira is a vizier or vizier of Pharaoh or King Menkaperra. I believe that's Thutmose III. Okay, and so Egypt expanded and had vassal states or vassal territories. And so this bottom register is talking about the vassal territories and people coming in from those areas. Okay, and so that's what you're seeing at the bottom here. So you're seeing women and children on both sides. Women and children from Nehisiu and Retinue, Syria. All right. People like to call Nehisiu Nubia, but as you know, I think that word needs to be thrown in the garbage can when it comes to these conversations as well. And it is a very good reason why. But there you have it. So that's the tomb. These are the people. And there you have it. So, But what I want you to pay attention to, though, is that so unlike today, when the ancient Egyptians came in contact with, whether it was friend or foe or trading partner or what have you, people in ancient times divided human populations not based on a racial construct like how we do today. It was the rules, the demarcating rules were totally different. They did everything based on culture. Culture is king. People need to just bang that in their head. Culture is king. And culture has a characteristic that's made up of a list of things. Language, we could name them. It's a whole list of what makes a culture a culture. Language, dress, food production, defense, weaponry, tools, funerary customs and methods and things. It's a lot of other things that makes a culture. And so when the Egyptians wanted to document foreign people, they took what they could that made them distinct and created what do you call it? What we call today a caricature of that, just like they did for themselves. All the ancient Egyptians didn't look alike. But if you look at the paintings, you would think they all looked alike because they chose the same reddish brown pigment, roughly the same style of everything. And that's what they do for all people. So like today, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. In modern times today, if you had to think about one look that represents sub-Sahara Africa, as they say, what would it be? And I'm gonna tell you the look that they push on us. It's the typical like Nigerian, or maybe something that somehow around that. They say, okay, that is the typical sub-Saharan look, and then that's push. So imagine your people. What would be the typical look that would represent African Americans? If you had to draw one figure, like if you had to take a picture, if you had to draw a picture, that one picture that represented all African Americans, and send it in space to some aliens to let aliens know how African Americans looked or whatever, what would it be? And so whatever that thought process is, that's what these artists did in ancient Egypt. They would use artist technique called aspective, and then they would caricaturize people. So anyway, but they would pick certain things from the culture that sticks out and stand out, like these socks. I'm calling them socks, but obviously they're something more elaborate than that. But if you were to look real good, let me get a better picture. Let me see if I have a better picture of them. Yeah. Okay, here's a better picture. All right, let me switch over. Where we at? We're at 4909. All right, give me a second here. Let me switch over. Give y'all a better view. Much better view. All right. Bam, that's how we're going to do it. All right. Now this is a way better view close up. These are the Keftiu. These are people from Crete. Notice the sandals. Notice the ankle bands. Look at this guy right here. He has from his sandals with no break, ankle bands. And this one over here. Ankle jewelry, ankle bands, or what have you. All right. So, and then look at the loincloth, I should say, loincloth, and the decoration around it. They're different. So they're distinct, I should say. So then you have dogs. These are dogs coming from the other register, which is Nahisiu. These are dogs coming from what people like to call Nubia, canines. All right, so that's that picture. And let me just share some more pictures. Now here's Here's the same tomb. So this is a good one. All right, let me show this one. Here's the same tomb. I want to make a point with this one. Okay, same tomb. Same tomb. Now, the difference between this picture and the very first one I showed you all from the same tomb, is that this one, it's obvious that either the person who took the photograph had their flash on, or they had some very good lighting when they took this picture, as opposed to the other one. Now, I do know when you go to Egypt, a lot of places you are not allowed to take pictures full stop. So people got to sneak, or people, or you got to grease the palm of the tour guide or whatever, or people that are guarding these places. You give them a little money, they'll just look the other way while you take a picture or whatever. So some pictures that you find online will be dark, and some of them will be well lit, like this one. And so what trips me out is that people will use pictures they find online to make arguments for whether people are black or white or skin color, skin tone, when they don't even consider the flash, the photography aspect of all of this. And so I just wanted to point that out. So this picture is well lit. Whoever took this was probably a full permission and had $1,000 camera with lenses and lights and stuff or whatever. But anyway, so you can see this. This is the same picture. So again, the top register. But see, this is the more coming down some. So we have at the top of this register, the top one, these are the Keftiu. These are the people from Crete. All right, on the top of this one. The second one on this one are Nehesiu, or what people like to call Nubians. And then below that would be your retinue, which are Syrians, Palestine, Syria. Okay, that's what these people are. And then below them is that mixture again of people. You have women and children and men below that. All right, so the point I'm making here is, don't allow people to use pictures they find online and not consider the photography aspect, whether the flash was on, flash was off, when they get into this light and dark, and whether white people whitewashing the walls of Egypt, to hide the blackness and stuff like that. It gets real silly real quick if people don't understand photography. Whether the light was on, flash was off, whether they got permission or not. Some people, I'm telling you, 'cause a lot of people sneak pictures, and they do their best. So go ahead.
What time period was this?
This is Menkepera. So this is, I think, Thutmose the third. And off the top of my head, I could not tell you. Just you could look up Thutmose the third.
Like 18th dynasty.
Somewhere around there.
Okay.
Thutmose the third.
Rekhmira. I don't have that off the top of my head. But somebody, I'm sure somebody in the chat can hook you up. So, all right. Hey, we got somebody else join. Who was that? We got Bobby West, Bobby Baltimore. Told you, Uncle Keck is now known as Bobby Baltimore, Bobby West.
Mm-hmm.
What's going
What's
on?
going on, man? Yeah, I'm glad you put this up, man. Did you see that they got to act like a facsimile of it, where they give you all the true depictions? You know how they got the I think I might have sent it to you.
Yeah, I showed you.
Reconstruction of it. You saw that?
I showed all that before. Yeah.
Because
so I
it's
showed
interesting how all the Nubians ain't one color. And that's the part that I think I would like to say that's interesting.
Yeah, let me see if I could find the tomb part of that. Let me show you all this close up. So let me, because I was going through some of the close ups. Let me just share this one real quick first. There's another close up of the register below the one we just looked at. So here's another close up. All right. So these people here are the retinue, who are the Syrians. And then right here, if y'all can see my cursor right here, they're the ones that's bringing horses. Everybody know horses are coming from that Levant area. So and Chris picked up on that as a giveaway. Then you have and you got a bear or whatever. I think it's a bear. It mentions a bear in the text, I believe. And then down below you had women and children with these bell-shaped dresses on, or garments on. Telling you again, Syria. Okay, and then it cuts off. You have some Nubians, what people like to call Nubians, to the right of them, but it cuts off right there. You got a baby elephant right here, as well. So, okay, so that's that one. So let me see if I see the top register. What you were saying, the Nubians. Do I have one? Well, all right. Let me show. Okay, this is a darker. Let's see. This one is it?
I think I sent it to you as a facsimile. You can see
Yeah,
the true colors.
yeah. But on the facsimile, they only show two different colors. But on I'm trying to show the actual tune one of what you sent me. All right, here we go. Let me just get back to this one.
All right.
This is a Rekhmira TT100. All right, let me share this one. Give me a second. Share my screen back. Switch up. Okay. So this here. So this is the actual tune of what you sent me. And so the top register is like what you sent me, but on the so see how I could scroll all the way over. So it shows the whole top.
All right, let's see.
So but no, to what you said is still the same. See how these are drawn slightly different. The people in the front are darker than these people over here, if we were to go by the colors. Now it's more exaggerated in the facsimile reproduction where they make it a bigger distinction, but in the actual tomb, it's not as pronounced like that.
So you said the top register is who?
These are people from Punt though. Punt.
Yeah, see, that's a trip, yo. Like, yeah, if you ain't, that's why I say, yo, let me get Wood on this, because you would think that the browner ones was Egyptians, right? The way they was dressed. If you didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
Now I did understand that the bottom registry, had the Nubian dress. You see, like the cow hides and stuff they wearing. So I kind of knew they was Nubians, right? And it's just like what like it's crazy to me, man. Even if you looked at the way everything was being depicted, like come on, yo, it never was the Syrian type though, right? I think the Syrian type, they was definitely paled out a little bit.
Yeah, they use a different pigment color for that. Yep. So
it's just crazy, man. The whole thing is crazy, and you don't got, and like you said, like I'm trying to say, there is no race. I'm just saying you just looking at the people, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, see, people miss that's why I was going through this exercise of asking people who they think they are, because you got to go beyond. Everybody looks at the skin color because that's what we are all about today, but that's not the why they drew them this way. They like, if you could see these socks, I'm calling them socks, but obviously they're sandals and ankle bands and stuff. That's the distinction. Because if you look at the pigment color that's used, this is the same pigment they used to draw themselves, the Remich, the Egyptians. That's the same reddish brown. So we went by that, we would think they're Egyptians. Be like, oh, they're Egyptians. They're Egyptians.
Yeah, you would.
The only distinction of these people down here, Syrians, which they made a point to. So they switched up the garment. So look at the garment. Their garments are totally different than everybody else's. In the picture, they got on calf high dresses, we would say. They're like bathrobes. Like look at this. Look like a bathrobe. In modern times, if you walked out the house like this, people would swear you came out with a bathrobe and going to get your paper out the driveway. Right now, that's
bathrobe.
But that's the garment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I was just saying that I think for the most part, people actually forget, and we've gone over this, is that, there's ways that the way that art is used nowadays, our modern art is completely different from ancient art and just in functions and in stylings. And ancient art, for the most part, when you find it, it was very, very functional. So it was actually being used not to be enjoyed visually per se, but to actually is portraying some kind of message. So it's almost like the way writing is primarily. The art will be like a secondary type of communication. So it's actually being used to communicate certain things. So you have these patterns that might not be realistic, but is being is like we see on these pictures, groups that we might actually say could be the same kind of people, but they actually here they might be drawn differently, or some people that we might say are completely different, and then you see on the picture they're drawn completely the same. So in ancient art, it was very, very, very functional. It was used to actually communicate certain messages. So that's why you find that they actually use canons, like we know with Egyptian art. So you're not supposed to just look at it and have like your take on it. Like we go to the museum, like this painting makes me feel happy, and then the next person comes in and say this one gives me a little bluesy, sad kind of feeling. You didn't do that with ancient art. It was actually very, very functional.
Yeah, that's a good point, and we point that out so many times. Mongo Slade said the giraffe. They said that giraffe though, that's a serious gift. Like, what would you do with a giraffe? Somebody bring you a birthday gift. It's a giraffe outside.
I'm gonna say you could do a lot with the giraffe. I've actually had giraffe meat, and that's one of the things you can do with it, and it was actually pretty good. It's actually one of the best meats. So there's a lot you could do with it.
Wow, you say giraffe meat?
Yeah, that's
That's a little
Kenya.
exotic.
That's Kenya for you, boy. They eat giraffes over there. But think about it. Do you know how much? You know how many people a giraffe can feed, though? Goodness.
Yeah. Well, I guess
That's
you're
a
right.
that's
Yo,
a
that's
nice.
messed up. I'm a vegetarian. Y'all gotta stop.
Yeah, I am too. Actually, I only ate it once, but when I found out, I felt bad. But I'm gonna tell you, like it's definitely a really, really good kind of a really good kind of meat. So, but yeah, I wouldn't do it again, and I don't think they allow people to do that anymore. But yeah, some people do. That's like exotic cuisine, I guess.
Yeah, well, y'all also did another video on here. I think just the one prior to this. I thought that was like one of the best videos I think you've done in a while. And maybe because I fucking agree with it, excuse my language, but he was trying to get people, he was trying to get them out of the generalization of trying to identify the Egyptians by a race. And you laid out the basic understanding of what made you an Egyptian. And I think Emma Cat, she really spoke to it in their art, right? They was trying to show you like who these people was, and it had a lot to do with more than just the skin color. I think the skin color is more valuable for us than it would have been for them. I don't think that was the real emphasis. I think the emphasis was on like what is an Egyptian? What is a Nubian? What is a Syrian? It's like this was key. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So
And this was
yeah,
key. Go ahead.
yeah. Those are better questions to ask. What Oh, and then Unc just drops out. So yeah, I'm gonna keep answering. Maybe come back in or listen. Those are better questions to ask because those are foundational. So what makes an Egyptian an Egyptian? And so just to give a quick rundown of that, people have to understand that yeah, so he's back. So
Go ahead.
yeah, I was saying what those are better questions because they lay a foundation for follow-ups, right? So what makes an Egyptian an ancient Egyptian an ancient Egyptian? And so we have to understand that ancient Egypt that we identify as ancient Egypt, it has its start at a certain time, and then it has its fall or decay and dying at a certain time. So within that time frame, what makes an ancient Egyptian Egyptian? So that is a national designation, a kingdom, a polity, a state, a country. And so anybody born and raised in Egypt would therefore be an Egyptian. They referred to themselves as the Remech. And so it was not based on skin color. Nobody was at the border with color swatches checking your skin color to see if you were an Egyptian or not, or were you allowed in, or you could come in or leave and stuff like that. Nobody was doing that. Culture was king, and it still is today. In many of these places, it's all about culture. So it's what language you speak, what customs do you practice, do you behave, your overall behavior, do you have a disposition and behavior like me, as a result of these cultural items that influence your whole being. So anyway, that's what makes an Egyptian. It wasn't about skin color. And Egypt was not a homogeneous anything. It wasn't a one anything. Even if you were to look at skin color in ancient Egypt, it was a range, just no different than like today. Over here in our unique ethnic group called African Americans, there's a range of skin colors among African Americans. So it's not about the skin color. But now what I think is even more important is for people to understand that what we know as ancient Egypt as will become to know and love as dynastic or pharaonic Egypt, it had its genesis in the south. And that's let me pull up a map, 'cause I want to make this crystal clear right now. I'm gonna be quick because we already did a show on it, but let me see if I can pull this back up again. Let me find this this map, and because I think it's important to stress this again. Yeah, I got to pull this map up because I want everybody to understand. If I can, man, can I get this map real quick? Can I do it fast? All right, here we go. All right, now I can get a better map, but this is just for saving time. I want everybody to get this. Where we at? Okay, give me a hot second, y'all. Hot second. Yep, here we go. So y'all see that? Let me blow my screen up. Okay. So y'all see this map right here. Now just to give some context, because there's not much written on it. On the left, let me move these circles out the way. So on the left, this is a overhead shot of Egypt and Sudan. Okay, just to give some perspective. This is the Red Sea right here. Let me get my arrow. That's the Red Sea. That's the Mediterranean Sea. Everybody talk about that Mediterranean culture type stuff. And here's Egypt. And then there's the border right here. And then Sudan. Okay, just to give some perspective. Now, what I mean when I say the Egypt that we know and love and we call ancient Egypt, it had its genesis and the formidable years, which means the years that of state creation, state formation, for it to become a country and stuff like that administrative aspect, it originated down here in the south. Let me put this circle over here, right in this area. So notice this circle right here. This line right here is the border of Egypt and Sudan right there. So this region right here is a region that scholars now call Nubia. And that's a problem, but just so you all know what I'm talking about, this is a region. There is no such country named Nubia. Nothing like that exists. The same way we say up here, the Middle East. People call that the Middle East. And even above here. But there's no country called the Middle East. So when we say Middle East, we're designating a region. And so when people say Nubia, it's a region. It's not a country. So what's in the region? So just like in Middle East, you got several nations, several countries. You got Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Palestine, Syria. If the Syria still exists, man, that's messed up. And whatever else. So that's the Middle East. All right, that's a region. Nubia is a region, but guess what? Nubia is composed of multiple communities. And it has always been that way. So what I'm saying is that the building and the build up of kingship and the administrative structure, the government and all of these different cultural artifacts that we now know and love as ancient Egyptian had its genesis here. And so now here's what happened. That formulation took place down here, and then it started to move its way up, 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 up. But here it would be down the Nile, going down river. And so by the time it reaches the Mediterranean Sea, this original area of influence started to slide up as well, to the point where when Egypt finally unified and became a polity of two unified regions, the southernmost border ended up getting cut off at the first cataract, which we would call a waterfall, like a waterfall slash, disturbance in the river. That's the first cataract right there. So that's where the natural border was formed. And those people who were left behind had their own state formation process, and that is why you have the Kerma or Kush, later Kush Empire and kingdom, and the Egyptian kingdom. Now the Egyptians called this area Ta-Nehisi, and they called the overlap. So notice Nubia overlaps two things. It overlaps northern Sudan and southern Egypt. Both southern Egypt and northern Sudan are Nubia by modern terms that scholars like to use. I say throw it in the trash, but I'm just saying it so y'all know what I'm talking about. So Nubia as a region covers southern Egypt and northern Sudan together. And so the state formation is evidenced by the material culture left behind in places. So let's move over here. So let me get my arrow. So you see Nakada. Nakada is right here. It's over here on this map. So you see how far it is from the border. So Nakada is the archaeological site known as Nakada. That's the archaeological name for a archaeological designation and category. Nakada 1, 2, and 3. This Nakada was known by the Egyptians as Nubit, or Nub. That is the word for gold. So the original Nubians were Egyptians. So I hope that sticks in your head. The original Nubians are Egyptians. And then from there, you have coming all the way down to what's known as Kustul. And now Kustul is not on this particular map, and I don't know if I have it to show you all where that is, and I don't think I do. I don't think I have that to show you all real quick. But so picture this in your mind. Picture this in your mind. Just to let you know, Kustul is near the border. So from Nakada down to Kustul is where the archaeological material culture, things that you can hold in your hand today, tells you where the major contribution to ancient Egyptian culture and statehood is from. So anybody's talking about the ancient Egyptians that we came to know came from the Levant or Syria or some other Mediterranean type of stuff has no idea what they're talking about. They cannot back it up whatsoever. And let me show y'all Kustul. Here's a map of Kustul. Now if I can blow this up. Yep. So y'all see Kustul? And okay, Kustul is right at the border. You got Dangala, Abri, Abu Hamad, the Port of Sudan, all that below there, that's Sudan. Kustul is still to this day in Egypt. So Aswan, you have Luxor, which is Thebes. So from Luxor or Thebes area, which is where Nakada is roughly, down to Kustal, that is where the state formation of Egypt occurred. The major contributors. There were other elements, so I don't want to diminish the other elements that came in at play. But the major statehood, the kingship, even the writing. Y'all know Abju or Abydos is between that area too. So let's see. Do I have it on the other map? No, I don't have it on the map. But Abydos or Abydos, or Abju as they called it, is in that area. So you have the tombs where you have the ivory tags that are there, but then you have the Kustal incense burner, and then you have the Ciali. Look up Ciali Seal. It's Siali. Ciali. The Ciali Seal. That seal has the name Ta-Nehisi Ta-Seti on it. So there were monarchs already in Kustal, the Kustal area. And it was called Ta-Seti prior to the formation of Simatawi or what we now know as ancient Egypt. So there's no getting around the fact that the Egyptian, what is and is not an Egyptian has its genesis right there. So anyway, I just want to briefly do that. Maybe I could share the Kustal incense burner or the Ciali seal real quick. Let me share that real quick for y'all. Give me 1 second. Get that on here. Cause I want y'all to see. I won't be making stuff up. Like we always understand. Demonstration beats conversation. All right, so here we go. So this is the Ciali seal, and this is not the actual seal, obviously. This is a drawing of it. You can look it up, if you want to see the actual seal. But on here, you have the some very interesting symbols of glyphs. So what should stick out, obviously, is a man on a throne. He's in a chair. So we may say a chair, but it's a throne. So a person who's enthroned. Notice he has the ceremonial and traditional tail coming from him. See that tail? And everybody should know that the kings wore tails. Are depicted with tails, I should say. Then you see above him, you see a sarek with a falcon perched on it. That is the oldest king's name out of the 5 kings' name that they have. The Ren-Ah, the great Ren or Renu. The great names of the king. The first name and oldest name is the Heru name, where you have the falcon perched on a sarek, and then usually the name is within that sarek symbol. So that's clearly Egyptian. Then you have in front of him, you have the bow. And then you have the glyph underneath of it for the land, Ta. The bow is Seti, and then you have Ta, so it's Ta-Seti. All right. So look up Ciali Seal, look at the date that it is attributed to it, and you'll see. You will not find this in the Levant during this period. You will not find this in Saudi Arabia. You will not find this in Israel. You will not find this in any other Mediterranean, Mediterranean, Zediterranean, Jediterranean, Bebiterranean. It doesn't matter. You're not going to find it in any of those places. This is right here is definitely African homegrown. All right. So anyway, that's just a brief thing right there. So I don't want to hear it no more.
Yeah, speaking of the crystal, because I had one discussion where I think brought it up, and I think some people were trying to shut it down and say that crystal was in Nubia, as in their words, using Nubia to say that it's not in Egypt, it's in Sudan, but it is actually in Egypt. So that's just a correction that needs to be made, because most people want to throw that out the window because it's like, well, that's not Egypt, but it's definitely in Egypt, just FYI.
Exactly. And people have to know how the unification process occurred. The movement went from a south in a northern direction, and what happened is, now in Egyptian terms, they unified a region that they called Ta Mehu with the other region they called Ta Shema'u. These are the two big regions, pretty much where my circles are that you see. There's these blue circles right here. So what we call Upper Egypt, which is the south, that's called Ta Shema'u. And it's really bigger than my circle. And then Ta Mehu, which is Lower Egypt, which is smaller than this circle. I'm just not going to resize it. This area, the delta. So Ta Mehu from Memphis up, and Ta Shema'u is from basically, in general, Memphis down. And so they unified those two areas. Now, who did not unify with them and was not a part of that push and movement was Ta Nehisi. What they termed Ta Nehisi. They didn't they weren't with the program. They didn't get with the program. And so a border was established, and then they had their own maturation process where they had their own kingdom, and everybody knows it as a Kash or Kush. You got Kerma down here. Oh, where my arrow at? You got Kerma, and then you have the later kingdoms of Napata and Meroe or Meroe, but that's further down. But all up in here, Egypt always had dealings in there, in this area. Depending on which time period and which king. So anyway, I think that point is made. We did a show on it, so you want more elaborate information on there. We're looking at archives on that. But I don't know if Bobby West is still there. But yeah, anybody got anything to say about that? Let me take this off the screen. Nobody? Boy, that kind of got everybody quiet, huh?
That's what happens when the answers are just, when you solve something.
Yeah, I don't want to hear anybody say that, what do you mean by the South? Or any of that other kind of stuff. The whole Sub-Sahara and North Sahara conversation is really a very shallow conversation. It doesn't matter. It only matters to people who want to make have an agenda to make the Egyptians something that they're not, to make a connection. And we don't have to do that. Like, Europeans are not going around saying every European is Greek, but they study Greek civilization as a European classical civilization, and they use it as a resource. That's a key word, a resource, not as something that they think they are or whatever. A resource, and people should know what a resource is. So Egypt is to be used as a resource to really, really study it and find out what can be learned from it as a resource. We're not Egyptians. No African Americans, us here in America as African Americans, we do not live a river culture. We do not live on a river. We do not depend on a river. None of that stuff. Egypt was a bona fide river culture. Everything about Egypt depended on the Nile River. The Nile was the lifeblood of that culture. So people walking around today, if you think that you are an ancient Egyptian, reincarnate, you are delusional and fooling yourself. You are not an ancient Egyptian. And you're not a modern Egyptian. So you're just not an Egyptian. Period. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. So that should just kind of kill the need to make the Egyptians something that they're not. Let them be who they are. They're the image. keep it moving. Like they're the image. Like, man, they had the you know, the apex of culture. They were the light of the ancient world, and we could use it as a resource. It is an African classical civilization. It is definitely African. Egypt to this very day, unless somebody can show me how Egypt moved off the continent, Egypt is still in Africa. But now people want to split Africa up. And you know, that's crazy to me, because Africa was split by various different European intellectuals at different time periods. And we fall for it and do the same thing on our own volition now. And so this is how the Europeans separated Africa. They divided Northern Africa and they called it European Africa or Caucasian Africa. Then they took the valley, the Nile Valley, and called that Valley Africa, but they connected that to Asia. And then they took the rest and called that Africa proper, with what we call now Sub-Saharan Africa. They called it Africa proper. But guess what? They said that Northern Africa was civilized and like them. Africa proper, which we now call Sub-Saharan Africa, were savages, were wild, untamed, had no emotion, had no civility, and was childlike. That's how these European intellectuals saw Sub-Saharan Africa. And so this is what we're doing in these conversations to this very day. We're dividing Africa just like that. Just like that. Same way. Now the Greeks did it too. They didn't do it in a negative way like that though. The Greeks had the valley. They didn't call it the valley. They didn't use the word valley. They use Egyptos for the Nile Valley area, where we get Egypt, which is Hutkapata. They say Hygiptos, which became Egyptos, which is Egypt. Egyptos, Egypt, right? That's the Nile Valley. Below that, they call everything below that Ethiopia. Not the country Ethiopia, but everything below that was Ethiopia, or Ethiops. Coming from a Greek word that means burnt surface. Ethiop, people say burnt face, but it's burnt surface, the surface of something. So that's what they call Ethiopia or Ethiops. And then the other part was Libya or Libis or Libus or something in Greek. That's how they did it. So they always divided Africa. People always divided, foreign people always divided Africa into 3 sections. And it was based on their contact. They had contact with North Africa, obviously. They had contact with Egypt. And it was through Egypt that they were able to penetrate southward into Africa. You know, it and believe it, these intellectual scholars of that day, they had no idea where the Nile began up until a certain point. Look that up. You'd be surprised when they finally discovered the beginning of the Nile. I'm talking about the beginning up in the mountains. Down there near Uganda and Kenya and Lake Victoria and all that good stuff. Kilimanjaro, was that Kilimanjaro down there? So anyway, that's all. I just want to share that. You know. So all right, we could share something else from the tomb of Rekhmira, because the tomb of Rekhmira is a very, very beautiful tomb. So I do want to share some other pictures, and maybe we can go over some glyphs. So if y'all interested in some glyphs to see what we do, where we over here we live by a demonstration beats conversation, and we don't get down with lookership. Lookership is our beginning. We don't end with Lookership. But let me just share this with you all. And there you have it. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Sonette Emiket.
Okay. So yeah. So while you guys were talking, we were looking up some of the stuff that we could find with glyphs from the tomb of Rekhmira, and this came through. So I think that could be a good exercise for us to go through, just see what we can read through it. Obviously, we can't do everything because clearly there is some damages. So maybe we could start with real quick, so not to take too much time. But if anybody in the chat can tell us, what directions we're supposed to read this direction or directions, that would be great. So we get some participation. And also like what glyphs you can recognize real quick. Okay, so while we do that, yeah, I think quickly, very interesting. What I see is like obviously just to re-emphasize what we talked about is that we really can't go by what we see, because if we were to look, we would probably say that these two people here are from probably two different races because they're using two different colors. But we know that these are just canons to represent certain things that we're supposed to know. But yeah, so I don't want to take too much time because it's late. So we'll see who has anything on the chat. But real quick, I would actually say that if I start reading from this part, I think most people are familiar with some of the things that we see, which is like the Hotep to Nesu. The only thing interesting that I see here is that actually this starts with Iret. So you have Iret, Hotep to Nesu, and then you have Wabu, and then Sepsen. So it's actually to do the offering formula for the pure ones. And then I think you have to say this twice because it says Sepsen. So you have to do this twice. And then you can see here in Ka. For the Ka, I don't see that at the end. So, but I'm thinking right after that, we usually get the name. So I'm just speeding through this real quick. So it will be Cheni Wab. So for the Ka of Cheni Wab, I am guessing. And then this is, then we see here Sa. So that particular person mentioned here is Sa F, is the son of his son Sesh, which is the scribe. And then you have Hotep, and then you have Netcher. So this will be, offering place. So the divine offering. So this person is a scribe and is also a scribe of the offering of the divine offerings. And then you have Tep N, and then something. And then you have Men Kepera, and then Seneb, Mat, Keru. So I think this Tepen might actually be a title. So it'll be because we have these titles here, and then you have another title. Probably he's the head of, so Tep N, and then something here that head of something, and then the name, which and then vindicated, so Ma'akiru. So yeah, so that would be pretty much that end. And yeah, while I'm talking, you can check and see how people are doing on the chat because freestyle as we go. And then on this end, so you have Rapat, and Rapat is I think that's like Crown Prince, Rapat, and then you have Netcher Merit. So I think is a beloved of the Netcher. We will see. And then Imi Hoot. So you have Hoot with a double with two W's because that's a plural. So you have Imira. So this is the overseer of the temples, and obviously the Weret. So overseer of the great temples. And I think this is like the great temples of. It has like 6 of this, so I know one with 5, so I'm not sure what this is. For the 5 will be the red, the grade 5, but I'm not sure of this. We'll skip that. And then you have Ra, and then Ra for the mouth. In this part, it is definitely the mouth itself, because we see that the single stroke, so we know that's the logogram. So Ra, and then Seher, M, Ta, R, Jer, F. So so this will be like so mouth, and then Seher will be, for example, like being fulfilled, or being content. So the mouth that fulfills or makes content the land, in according to Jer, which will be like a limit. So in this sense, I guess, since we're talking about the Rapat, will be like it can be used for district, so kind of like a border. So so it will be its border. So Jer F, and then you have Seher here, which is can be used for somebody that is in charge, and then you have Nebet, and then some stuff that we don't know what it is. Then we see the same Imira here. Then we have Chati. So you have the overseer, and then Chati is like the vizier. And then you have then comes after the title, we should be used to it right now having the name, which will be Rekhmira. So that's the name that we know that we were looking at. That's the tomb that we were actually looking at while discussing. And then something here, something F. There's a word here with the suffix pronoun F, and then Nebet pair. So I'm thinking this will be talking about the lady at this point, because that would be for the lady of the house. And then right here there's this, and then Ma'at Keru. So this will be the name, and that's this is B, and that is the but I forget what it is. So that would be Bat, because that's a name. So Bat, and then Ma'at Keru. So the vizier, Rekhmira, and then something about his, and then his or it, and then the lady of the house, but true or voice or vindicated. And then so let's see if there's anything else. And then down here, so you have 1,000 bread, 1,000 beer, 1,000 fowls, 1,000 ox, 1,000 fowls, and then linen, 1,000 linen. So these are the offerings that are actually being put here. And I think the part that I read before with the Menkepera, this must be the Menkepera Seneb. This is the person, the figure, but we don't see it there. And then this part that I read was for these two. So that's pretty much it, running through it, real quick.
All right. Dusty, Donnie's on the panel. Donnie, you got any words? Okay, I think Donnie Mike might not be working. All right, so there you have it. So this is the tomb of Rekhmira, and you're actually looking at Rekhmira there. And so you see the name in between the two figures there. Now, as Emiket said, if we were doing the color lookership, the very shallow color lookership, we would think that this man and this woman are from two different races of people and the whole nine. And you can see how silly that conversation would get really fast. And that's just not the case at all. And this is very typical of the adult men and adult women in the artistic iconography of how the Remich depicted themselves. You had reddish brown pigment used for the skin, and then you have this yellowish gold pigment used for women. And then there's scenes where you see white skin, but they're still ancient Egyptians. It doesn't mean that they were white. The colors represented different things. And so people using these colors to then have a modern social construct, a race conversation, you know, that's all wrong. You're starting off wrong. You're never going to reach a good conclusion starting off wrong like that. All right. So, but this is good. So this is the tomb that we were just dealing with. This is actually a beautiful piece here. All right. So, Donnie, are you you there? Nope. Okay, so
Yeah, no, I think he said he's not on the panel, but he tried to come in.
he did not only try. I'm looking right at his name right there, so he must not be able. You see his name too, right? That's Donnie Williams right there. So yeah, Donnie, you're on here. So I don't know what you did. He said he's not on the panel, but you are definitely here. I can even make you big. See, look, that's Donnie right there. Yeah, so you probably go out and come back in, and we'll wait for you.
Yeah, what happened to everybody else?
Everybody ran because you try to make this a freestyle Friday and want participation and audience and everything like that.
Okay, good thing. Okay, I know.
Yeah, we just got to translate. We just got to read the English to people now. You know, we can't get that chat participation on these glyphs, but people just start scattering. You know.
Yeah, that's why we want people on the panel, though. So, make sure that you come on the panel. Like, don't be scared.
All right. So anyway, that's all I had, and so again, just to do a quick recap, we just went over the tomb of Rekhmira, just these 3 registers to identify the people in the registers, to actually use that as an example of how and why not to continue the conversations about color identity when you're talking about ancient people. All right, just don't do it. It's not gonna be fruitful at all. It's gonna it's not gonna bear fruit. It's gonna be a tree with no fruit. You're gonna be expecting those apples and oranges to be growing, and there's nothing gonna grow from that conversation at all. All right. So with that, I think that's it. Anything else you got, Mikat? Oh, are there any questions? Hold up. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's question. I did see a question, and I lost it though. I lost the question. Here we go. Here's a question. Bedrock Carter says, did the people of Kemet die all the way off? And the answer is no. That's the short answer, no. But to elaborate a little bit, in that question and in that topic, we have to understand that when we say the people of Kemet, we have to understand, are we talking about the people as identified as the ancient Egyptian culture? Because the culture died out. So that's done. That's gone. It's not practiced in that geographical region anymore. Even though the remnants of it still exist. You got the pyramids, the Sphinx, the temples, and tourism is at an all-time high. The country makes a lot of their money from tourism and all that good stuff. But if you're talking about a genetic population, that's still there. Okay, because over the millennia of years and things like that, the genetic population, there was never a homogeneous genetic population. So that's when you get into a DNA conversation. And remember, we can't mix a genetic population with a conversation dealing with culture and even language, which is an element of culture. So I'm gonna give you an example. What's a good example? I'll give you a good example. Genetically, in terms of a genetic population, the Luo of Kenya and the Kikuyu of Kenya could share the same genetic population, but yet they're distinct ethnic groups. They speak distinct languages, and they have distinct manner and ways in which they live their lives, which are distinct cultures. Now they're close in proximity to each other, and they're closely, whatever, but they're distinct. But they could be of the same genetic population. Look at the Igbo and Yoruba. Similar situation with that. They're distinct, but yet as a genetic population, they could be coming from the same genetic population. So we have to understand that at the layer of genetics, you're dealing with, when I say genetic population, we're talking about a demarcation of certain markers that a group of people have in common. Okay? Be it SNPs, autosomal, whatever, if we want to do that for today. Then we can even be more broad and just go with pure paternal maternal haplogroups. But regardless, that is the requirement or the test to see what's inclusive or exclusive from certain groups. That's totally different than culture, totally different than language. There's no gene that's going to tell you what language a person spoke. You're not going to dig up somebody's body, sequence their DNA, and then tell what language they spoke. Anybody that tells you that, they are delusional. Doesn't happen. Same thing with culture. You're not going to dig somebody up, and by their sequencing of DNA, you're not going to say what culture that they lived. Now, biology, which is more specific, genetics, linguistics, and the material culture through archaeology, all three of those things can overlap and inform a person or a researchers and help answer certain questions. But you can't mix them up. Like I said just now, you can't dig up somebody and tell what culture and sequence their DNA and tell what culture they practice. But the grave site itself, how they were buried, how they were positioned, what is included inside the tomb and stuff. Was there any writing in there? Was any documentation, stone, papyri, or otherwise in the tomb? So those are helpful clues. And then you sequence the DNA and stuff like that. And then if you have multiple tombs and you sequence the deceased bodies of multiple tombs, and those sequencing comes back as very closely related or of the same gene pool, then you can start coming up with some more conclusion and answers and connecting certain dots and things like that. But you can't use these things as if one is over the other or replacing the other and things like that. So these conversations really have to take that in consideration. All right, so I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. And that's pretty much it. And Mikat, you got anything close?
No, not really. Just a dua for tonight. That was actually a good show, and I hope we keep doing this because I think it's good. It's good to get back on, on the sesh again and actually straighten things out. And yeah, definitely some more of this will be good.
All right, so remember, you all make sure if you like this content and everything like that, definitely thumb up the video and subscribe, because we definitely will do drive-bys any day, anytime. We'll come out on you 3 in the morning, 9 a.m., 12 noon, whatever, when we have time, and motivated by questions or things that people discuss, we will come live and discuss it. But we want to give some takeaways. Want people to actually walk away with something. Either you're more curious, you get your answers, or it'll motivate you to research and look into things a little bit more. All right. So we have a series called Sabayit Dome. We've been had it, and so under that series we're going to be addressing comments and claims people make that are not in alignment with the evidence or just plain out not true. And so we may use those as teaching moments. And so that's what we're going to start back up and start doing again as well. All right. So just keep your eyes out for that. But until then, I really appreciate everybody tuned in. And I'm going to say Shem Hotep to see y'all next time.
Plato said that when you go to chemist school, you become more alert. You may wake up, your spirit wake up. And you become a more human being. That's your character is built in a school. We must know Medew Netcher. You see, maybe in the future we need to know some heretic too. We need to know Medew Netcher.